of evil. He tries to slit my throat and goes, die, mama, die, mama, die, mama.
We're running.
Did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? And if you did, was she crying, crying? Hey.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I've got a very special video as I kind of teased in the end of the Dead Good Ghost Tour video that I'll be doing another interview with Chloe, and so I've got her here now. This is definitely not the second time we're recording this or anything because I didn't mess up with the audio or anything. Just a quick recap, the camera keeps following Chloe and we got to question 1, so there we go, all perfect.
Oh yeah, I'll show what I mean by that. The camera keeps on following me and it's really freaking me out. I want it to stop. I don't know why it's doing that.
Her zoom is possessed, everyone.
It's zooming into me. I don't like it.
It's so good. It's so funny. Just get straight into it because we've already practiced this once. So, what are your earliest memories of scare events or scare attractions?
So the earliest is Alton Towers Scarefest itself because I've always, like, even as a little kid, been really into, like, horror games and things, but at first I was a little bit of a wimp at the thought of going into mazes and that. But for my birthday, my mum and dad booked for me and them and, like, 15 of my closest friends at school to go to Alton Towers Scarefest, and we were all, like, completely dressed up and things. And it was really fun because it was just our big group going through the mazes and things. So yeah, it was really fun watching everyone getting targeted, especially because I think the actors realised it was a big kid like birthday party. We were all like really tall for our age, so we looked older than we were, so we managed to get in, even though I don't think we probably should have done. So they were really like scary for us and fun back then, and it was like quite a fun Scarefest back then anyway, because I think it was like 2011 or something. So yeah, the first mazes that I did was Carnival of Screams, Terror of the Towers, and Boyle House.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not jealous of that because I was there at the same time. We could have even been there on the same day, who knows? But yeah, I was both too young and too... Unfortunately, I wasn't very tall for my age at that point. I hadn't gone through my growth spurt yet.
You're not.
So, no. But
Been
yeah.
5'8" since I was 8, so...
Yeah, and now I'm 5'9". Yeah, just one inch taller than Chloe. It's great. My earliest memories were because that was my first ever trip to Towers, and I remember standing in the Oblivion queue line and just seeing the outside of Carnival of Screams, and like walking past the boiler house and stuff. And even though I didn't go into the mazes, I kind of still had that fascination behind them of kind of like not knowing what was inside and stuff, and just seeing it from trailers and stuff, which was yeah, really interesting. And
Boiler House was great. I love them all, but Boiler House, if I could go back into a maze, if I could do a maze again, it'd be Boiler House, I think.
Yeah, I really wish I did that one because the mask was so good. And fun fact, one of my college tutors was actually played Elsie Hamble in there, and I believe she got punched in the face. So there's a fun fact from Jay. That'll probably go into... I
love Elsie and Victor. Love them.
Yeah, I mean, that'll probably go into if we have any questions about like how hard scare acting is and stuff. Like, yeah, getting punched in the face, that happens. The second question is, how did you get into scare acting? And were you like an actor in general before, or was it just scare acting that you got into to start with?
So I've always done acting, like into acting classes and things just in general. I did like GCSE drama and stuff. Yeah, always been into it. I've done a mixture of things like screen theatre, voice acting. I've done motion capture for like video games and films and that, which is really cool. But not obviously a very successful one because I haven't really been in much. I found that like with acting, unfortunately, I think I was just unfortunate that as soon as I sort of like had opportunities, things would just happen that would make me like not want to be a part of it. I think being a girl in the acting industry, without going into too much detail, you can be quite vulnerable. So I started to like stray away a little bit from the general acting side. But yeah, so I was just an actor in general. I do like music and things and as well, and I'm starting to I've got a camera, so I'm starting to make some of my own short films, doing a bit of like the directing and writing as well. In terms of scare acting, like I said, I've been really into Alton Towers Scarefest for ages, so I knew that even though I'd probably like it in general, that was the one that I wanted to work at. So I auditioned many, many years ago and got in, and then just pretty much stayed there, really. I haven't really properly scare acted anywhere else. I've done a few other bits here and there that are kind of scare acting, but I've only really been there, to be honest with you.
And I believe at this point you like the longest serving scare actor, I believe. Like just to give you that accolade.
So yeah, I was this year for this year originally. I think someone said to me that I was like the longest running scare actor at Scarefest this year. But then, like halfway through, they needed some more cast, so hired some other actors that are even longer running than me.
So the next question from Ash on Twitter asking, what roles have you played and what do you enjoy most about being in mazes?
What roles have I played? Oh my gosh, a lot.
Let's get the list out.
So I played every single role in the original Altonville Mine Tours. I think I was the only actor to have done that. I got to do like all the male designated roles as well. So I got to do like brother and jock. I even got to play granddad, but obviously it was a bit more. I couldn't really look too much like granddad, so it had to be grandma.
I wish I could have seen that one. That would have been amazing.
I loved playing grandma. I loved it. Tiny's Revenge, I only played one character, which was obviously the cheerleader victim. And then in Edge of the Forest, I was meant to be one of the Lesh Walls, but I don't do very well in masks and costumes, so I wormed my way out of that one, and instead I was the like witch character and the sort of lost soul characters, whatever they're called.
And that's quite funny as well, because with the first role I ever saw you, because fun fact everyone, Chloe was the first ever scare actor I ever saw in a maze, and but it was in the Brothers pre-show was the thing. So and yeah, did an amazing job creeping me out before going into my very first
Thank
maze. But that just shows like the kind of amount of range you had that they literally let you do. Because I think the only one might have been Boss that you didn't do, but technically you were in Gift Shop at the end, so it's technically that's still that kind of same role in a way.
Yeah, so Boss was one that I've never done it where someone else has been on Shotgun and then I specifically played Boss. But if we were low on cast, one of the roles that would drop is Boss, because there was already another actor in there playing Shotgun, so I would sort of like do both the roles, or I would run around like I'd have the strobes go off and then I'd come out sort of as Boss and then go on to the Shotgun. So I've sort of done like both roles, but Boss needs to be a big intimidating bloke, although he's not tiny. I would like to say that. He is not tiny. Yes, he is not. Boss and Tiny are two different characters, because I know that I think a few people have wondered if they're the same character. But from what I've heard from the designers and that, they're not the same character. They're both kind of like intimidating, quite big, stocky roles. So they're something that I could have never really have played, to be honest with you. But yeah, as a long-winded answer to that, I technically know I've not played Boss, but I sort of have.
So the next question, another one from NGL, is how does it work for getting cast in a particular maze and what role you play, and do you get to pick the maze you're in, or does it kind of alternate between the mazes and the roles?
So in terms of where you sort of get placed in a maze, a lot of it will be based on sort of the audition that you give. Some of it is based on like how you look and things, but a lot of it will be based on what type of scare actor you are. Because, for example, like Altonville needs in general quite extroverted, loud people, and people willing to be quite weird and erratic and things, and can obviously do a Southern American accent. Whereas the likes of like Subspecies and that, even though there were multiple kind of actors in there, in general you'd want kind of like big, stocky, intimidating lads. So that's sort of how you ultimately end up getting cast and stuff. But they do, I remember that they would sort of ask you on, like when you do like a sort of one-to-one kind of interview at the end, they would say, what maze would you like to be in? If it was already known what the mazes were, they would say like, oh, if you could pick a kind of maze to be in, what would you be in? So they are quite accommodating with trying to see what you would enjoy and where you think you excel and that. So like for me personally, I got originally cast in Altonville anyway. And then each year they would say, like, we do want you back in Altonville, but do you want to be in there? Are you happy with keep on being in there? And I'd be like, yeah. So that's how you end up sort of getting cast, really. In terms of alternating within the maze that you're in, usually, yeah, you will alternate between roles and things. There might be specific roles that you're designated towards, so you might not get to play like every single role, but you usually do alternate between the different characters and things. So when I very first got cast in Altonville, the first year that I was in it, I was originally down to just play sister. They liked my scaring, but they'd seen me do the brother script in the audition and really liked it, and then saw me do the sister pre-show in rehearsals and really liked it. So they had it down that I was just going to be sister for the entire run, which I do like playing sister, but I was like, oh, I want to scare too. So my show captain saw me scare quite a bit during rehearsals and was like, oh no, we need a scaring as well. So luckily they did then alternate a lot, and all of us alternated.
So the next question from Elise, she gave a load of questions for this, so
Hello.
thanks for the help again, Elise. So her first question was, what was the audition process like in general? I'm guessing for Scarefest mainly, but could also probably go into any of the other roles that you've done.
The audition process for Scarefest mainly. So this was back when it was the actual Alton Towers Ents auditioning. I'm not actually too sure what it's like now with the other company taking over, because I haven't actually auditioned. I only did a quick interview and got hired just because I'm a returning actor and have been here for so long. That's the only reason why. But in terms of how it used to be, and I think a lot of things are quite similar, it's just a lot of acting audition stuff in general. Like if you would audition for drama school kind of things and you're doing like a group audition. So yeah, it is like sort of in a big group or however many have come for that day. And you sort of play lots of games, like warm up and get yourself comfortable. So you'll do a lot of improv games and things, and then you'll do something usually where you pick an animal and slowly they want you to become that animal. They'll count from like 1 to 10, and with each count you'll become more and more like that animal. So they want to see how you physically change, how your behavior changes, even your voice changes and the sort of sounds that you're making, because I think they're ultimately trying to see that if you can fully do that in a really well lit conference room in front of a bunch of other people with no makeup and no costume, if you're comfortable doing that there, then you're going to smash it in the maze. They used to have a thing called the scare chair, which is where someone would sit on a chair with their back to you, and then you'd go up and try to scare them in a very well lit room with everyone else watching. I used to love it because even in that room I would still get some screams and some jumps, so I used to love it. But it is quite an intimidating thing to do. They'll get you to do like little characteristic things, so they might get a bunch of you to improv a scenario of being like a witch or a pirate or a possessed doll or a hillbilly. So yeah, it's a bunch of different things really, just to see your physicality and things a lot, really.
I think I remember you saying in the past as well, the scare chair is one that usually like some of the cast and stuff will be really scared to do.
Yeah, especially if it's a lot of people who haven't done it before. As soon as that part comes up, a lot of the newbies are a bit like, wait, what is this? And all the returners would be like, it's fine. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but it's fine. I always found it interesting because a lot of people would sort of straight away be quite loud and trying to like make lots of noise and sort of shout in the person in the chair's ear to make them jump, which is great because if you're that sort of loud, there's certain mazes that will suit you for that. Whereas I'd always start off by standing up but making zero noise. I'd wait for about 10-15 seconds and make no noise so that the person in the chair is like, has anyone even been picked yet? And it makes them, it's mad how like uncomfortable it makes them, because they don't realise what will happen is the person leading the audition will just silently point to you so that the person in the chair won't realise when someone has stood up. So I'd always use anticipation as a bit of a scare, because I just wouldn't move for about 10-15 seconds, so they really would be like, okay, it's been a while now and no one's come up to me. Then I'd slowly start walking towards them. I'd purposely make a little creak so they're like, hang on, is that just a weird sound in the room or has someone stood up now? Give it a little bit longer. Make zero sound so that like I approach behind them. And then I'd just breathe right in their ear and down their neck, and it would always like completely like they'd shudder or scream. So yeah, that was my main tactic that I do pretty much every year.
The next question is, how long does it take to get to know a maze, and does it become boring being in the same maze, or do you enjoy going back to them every year?
Kind of difficult to answer because I know Altonville like the back of my hand, but I've been in that maze since 2017. So I literally could go through that maze and all the rat runs with my eyes closed. In terms of how long it took to get to know in 2017, so we had 3 days worth of auditions, or what's it for? No, it was three. Was it? I think it was 3 days worth of auditions. That's normally the norm. That's the normal amount of audition days. Apart from Edge of the Forest, which was like 6 or 7, that was a lot of audition days. You usually spend the first day getting to know how to scare act, and the second and third days I just spent sort of completely in the maze and getting to know the characterizations and the maze itself. But you start to get to know it really well once you're actually in there working it. I'd say one of the best bits of rehearsal and training is the staff night, where the rest of Alton Tower staff get to come through and the actors get to basically practice what it's going to be like when opening to the public, kind of like a tester night, really. So you'd be surprised, you do get to know it really quickly, to be honest with you. Some of the hardest things, though, once you are operating, is sometimes it can be so dark in the rat runs, in the maze, so even if you do know it quite well, you're still a bit like, oh, where's the wall? But yeah, I know Altonville like the back of my hand because I've been in it for so long, so it's hard trying to remember how long it took me to be like, I know this maze inside out. To be honest with you, within a few days of operating, I think most people will probably know their maze inside out. Edge of the Forest didn't really have rat runs, so that was easy to learn in that sense. But oh my goodness, the amount that that maze obviously repeats. It took me so long to try and figure out which part of the maze I was in. I'd be walking through and I'd be like, I don't know where I am. Like, literally, we'd open up the maze and I'd walk through and I'd be like, I don't know which part of the maze I'm in. I know I'm in a forest, but I don't know which forest.
With over 300 trees as well, as we found out.
I didn't even know that. You were the one that told me that.
Yeah.
I was like,
And
there's
no one
surely not.
believes me when I say it, and it's so funny.
I don't know how 300 trees can fit in there. I mean, there are a lot of trees, but even from, like, I've got a picture of me chilling, sitting in between the trees, in between guests. So there is a bit of a gap between some of them. So I'm like, how have 300 trees fit in there? I mean, impressive. But yeah, it's crazy how, even though there was no rat runs, Edge of the Forest was actually a little bit harder to get used to. The cottages were a bit easier to figure out because they'd obviously decay a bit and you'd get used to that. But the forests, it took me a good few days to try and figure out where I was. And once I did know it, yeah, I did know it in the cars would help as well, like the little car audios and things that would help me figure out where I was.
The next question is from Imi, or Coaster Critter on Instagram. Hi, Imi. She loves doing questions and stuff on these. So she asked, if you could act in any past scare maze, which one would it be and why? I'm assuming Scarefest, but I guess if there's any other scare parks, whatever.
So this technically isn't a maze. It is Scarefest, but it's technically not a maze. But I think if I could work in any past sort of scare attraction, it would be the Ultimate Sleepover or the Scare Rooms. I'd have loved to have done that. I think that would have been so much fun because I did the Ultimate Sleepover as a guest, and I just found it was so much fun. There was a whole like theatrics to it, and you were in character sort of all night, like improving, but also with a script. And then when you slept in the towers, and then the actors were scaring the guests throughout, I just thought that must be so much fun. And the scare rooms as well, because the scare rooms technically it was like the Altonville Motel and the Altonville Wedding, so I still would have been working in Altonville in a sense. I think that would have been the thing that I would have jumped at. I think even though Boiler House is one of my favourite mazes, I'm not too sure because it was just the sort of serial killer twins and some victims popping up here and there. But I don't know if I would have wanted to have worked in that. I think a lot of mazes that I quite like as a guest, I'm not interested in actually working in. So yeah, in terms of a maze, I mean, I really liked the theme of the Sanctuary. I know, I'm saying something nice about it. I really liked the theme of the Sanctuary. I've always been interested in like asylum sort of stuff, and what they did with that and the way it was, the law with the smiler was great. I've always wanted to sort of play like those sort of characters like within an asylum and that. But it wasn't my most favourite Towers maze. But then again, I've also just said that any maze that I did really like as a guest, I don't know if I'd be interested in working in. So possibly as a maze, maybe the Sanctuary, because it wasn't my absolute favourite. So it probably would have been cool to have worked in as a guest because it's the kind of theme that I like. But if we're not going to include mazes, like if I would have liked to have worked in something, it would have been the Ultimate Sleepover or the Scare Rooms, I think.
I guess that's kind of the same with Altonville, because I know that you said that going through Altonville as a guest hasn't really worked as much for you, but then you loved working in it as an actor, so maybe that's kind of the way it works.
I love it as an actor, and I know that the guests really like it, but I've unfortunately never had a good run through as a guest. Now, that's partly because I know the maze so well. So I know where everything's coming from, but also I did it in its opening year, and it wasn't one of my favourites. I actually remember when I went to audition for Scarefest, genuinely one of the first things that I thought was, I was like, please don't be in Altonville. Please don't put me in Altonville. I was like, I don't want to be in Altonville. I was like... And then halfway through the audition, I was like, I really want to make sure that I get this job. I can do a Southern American accent. I'm just going to start doing it. Which means that I'm going to be in Altonville, but at least I get the job. But then as I was doing it in the audition, I was like, this is quite fun, actually, to do. And then I really wanted Altonville and then got it, so it was great. So, yeah, even though I love it and I love acting in it and I know that it works as a maze, it just for some reason hasn't worked for me as a guest. But I know it is a great maze. But I think now I'm also at the point where, especially like being in a different maze this year, like I think if I go through it, I think I'm unfortunately quite hypercritical of it because I know how good it can be.
And I'm the exact same for Altonville, incredibly hypercritical of it because I've been through it too many times.
Yeah, so you probably know where all the scares are coming from as well.
Oh, yeah,
That's why I tried to, whenever I saw you, try and do something a bit more different.
With Edge this, not this year, last year. God, it's 2026, Jesus. Yeah, with Edge last year, I remember Chloe got me into a headlock as well, so it was full of surprises everywhere.
Disclaimer, no Jameses were harmed in the making of these headlocks. Chloe actually has quite a nice and comfortable hold with a secure grip, which is very warm and inviting to a willing victim like the aforementioned James.
Love a headlock.
Yeah.
Love a headlock. I loved it once they allowed us to, when I got that message of, guys, we can give contact to the guests, I was like, I was like, I'm used to it, because it was so difficult going from being in a maze where you could give contact to them, being in a maze where the guests were sort of really begging for it, but at first we weren't allowed to, and then after the actor sort of saying like, look, this could actually make it better and the guests do want this, so we were allowed to start touching. Like I just saw the reviews get like so much better.
We all wanted to be manhandled as scare enthusiasts. Like Elise constantly was asking to be picked up, and it was great.
Not how much the guests want to be grabbed.
Yeah, but we do. We love it. We just get no contact normally in our normal lives, so we just want it from scare actors. It's lovely. Right, so the next one starts off with a lovely compliment saying that Tiny's was so good in 2023, the cheerleaders really carried it that year, which I can absolutely agree with. Do the actors get to come up with their own characterizations, or are they given kind of like background sheets or kind of like notes to go off of?
Thank you for the lovely comment. Do you know what? We had so many comments that year on the cheerleaders in 23. There was so many comments on the cheerleaders like really carrying the maze, which we loved, because the girls, like, I think being tiny is quite difficult. That suit and the mask is difficult, it's scary, but there's only so much that those actors can do, and the girls were aware of that, and the girls were freezing in those costumes, so we were like, we will happily run around and do everything. So it was great to get that sort of feedback. So in the original Altonville, no matter what, I think there's always room for your own like creative input with the characters, because everyone will play the same character a bit differently. But in the original Altonville, we were sort of given an idea of how to play the characters, and we were actually given their sort of background stories. So as you're aware, in the original longer version of the sister script, she goes into more detail about some of the different characters and their motivations. So like the reason for why Jock is the way he is, the reason for why Bride does what she does, and their actual names and things. So even though that ended up being cut because the script was a bit too long, so the guests didn't realise that, we all still knew that. So we could then use that for how to play the characters. So for example, Jock, even though he has like muscles attached to him, the point is that he's gotten these muscles because he's a bit of a skinny, weedy bloke, so he wants to be big and strong like the men in the magazines, as the script would say. The whole point behind him is that, yeah, he's this big, tough-looking guy, but deep down he isn't. He's a bit insecure. So, like I said, with the original Altonville, we would sort of be given backgrounds, which would be great. It was really useful. It was very much like sort of working on like a theatre production or a screen sort of thing. But then with Tiny's Revenge, the only sort of background that we were given, for my characters at least, is that they were cheerleaders from Altonville High that have gone to find if the legend of the Skin Snatchers is true. And it turns out that Tiny's still down there and they've gotten kidnapped. That's all the sort of info that we got. So I remember when I very first got told that I was going to be the only characters really for girls were victims, I was like, oh no, but I like playing someone evil. I like playing the family.
I was the exact same when I heard.
I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? Yeah. I can't play like a screaming victim. So then I was like, in the original Altonville, there was a victim. Now, it would be one of the first characters to be dropped if we were low on cast, because it is just a victim character. So maybe quite a few people didn't see this character, but it was there. And I've played it a few times, but yeah, it was a victim character. And that's all the briefing that we sort of got, is that, yeah, this is one of the victims of the Snatches. But again, I like giving a twist to stuff. So I remember one time during rehearsals, I was playing this victim character and going up to guests and being really panicked. I would put on in English my normal, like, slightly Scouse accent to let them know, like, this isn't one of the family, like, they're not even doing the accent. And I'd be pleading for help, saying about what the Snatchers do, blah, blah, blah. But then halfway through, as they're about to leave from my section, I'd start laughing and turn into a southern accent and be like, the family are gonna love you, and like saying loads of stuff, because it turns out that I'm actually a snatcher, just mocking them and mocking the genuine victim's distress. So then I thought, oh, I wonder if I could do this in Tiny's, where, yeah, but this time, like, it is a victim, but she's sort of gone insane and a bit Stockholm syndrome, so that I can play it a bit twisted. I played her as like being a bit insanely in love with Tiny, but I'd switch between like crying and pleading and wanting to leave, and then switch within a few seconds to being on his side. And Tiny's, no, we weren't really given much info. Tiny had a little bit of info because of being a snatcher technically, but no, the victims weren't really given any info, so we got to sort of do a bit more creatively with our characters. Now, the guests only really see us unless you're coming through multiple times. You only see us for a minute, but it does add that extra depth and a bit of uniqueness to it when you do have a bit of an idea of your character and things. So yeah, even though it's not a big multi-million-pound project and film, it's a maze in a theme park, it's still really nice to do things like that and do have like a creative idea. Because for guests, especially ones that are coming around multiple times and are paying for that, it's nice to give them something a little bit different each time and things to unlock and realise about the characters and the story and things.
And as someone who came through multiple times and saw Cindy multiple times, did an amazing job with the interactions on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you did come through a lot.
Yeah, so many times. Yeah, just literally messaging like, "Are you on?" So another question from Elise is, "What's your favourite and least favourite roles you've played? And if you could play any role, what role would you choose?"
Favourite role will always be sister. No matter what. I do remember in 22, which was the last year of Skin Snatchers, none of us knew, why is the camera so close? Please
it's
stop.
So funny.
Please stop. It's
it's so
Please
funny just
stop.
to watch while you're doing it. It just like goes everywhere.
It's really right.
It might be something in
Stop.
settings, possibly. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know how to stop it. It's just slowly zooming in on me. It's freaky.
I really want to include this bit in the video because it's so funny.
You can do.
Yeah, why not?
Favourite role, it'll always be sister. Like I said, I remember in 22 when it was the last year of Skin Snatchers, none of us knew. We knew that it was going to be coming to an end soon, but with every year that people would think it was going to go, it would keep on coming back, so we were never sure when it was going to go. But I do remember in 22, like, I had a feeling that it might be the last time that I play sister, so I was making the most of it, but also I was getting a bit like, I've done this role for a long time now, I would like to do something else. So I was very happy when it changed to Tiny's Revenge and I got to play Cindy. But now I am quite like, no, I do miss Sister. Like, if I could play any role for the whole time, it would just be Sister. But Cindy is one of my favourite roles too. And Baby and Bride, I really like those roles as well because they're all quite different. Bride, I would play like very quite sad, like melancholic and floaty. I'd keep her quite silent, to be honest with you. I'd sometimes play it a bit like where guests wouldn't realise if she was a statue or not, because I'd be very still and then I'd sort of like all of a sudden jolt at them. But I would make sure with the like nice long flowy dress that I'd sort of float by and either be silent and sort of like whimpering and crying, or if I did say a few lines, it would be things like, I really want a husband. I just want to be pretty enough for a husband and things. So it'd be scary, but I wanted her to be quite sad. So yeah, they're sort of my favourite characters because they're also quite different. But ultimate favourite is Sister and Cindy. Least favourite role, even though I did like the role, this is a tough question because there aren't any that I'm like, I didn't like playing that role. But if I just had to pick a role that I didn't maybe enjoy quite as much as the others, surprisingly, it was probably Witch in Edge of the Forest.
I was thinking it would be that.
I did really like the character, but I just think that with the pre-show and things after playing Sister in pre-show, which was a lot more of what I enjoyed, and it was a very, what's the word, there was a lot of pressure on playing the Witch in pre-show because there was a lot of tech to it. It had to be really well timed.
With thy senses lost, goeth round, round, the path to escape, ne'er to be found. Beware the Equal! He is coming! My body is to become a race!
It's not at all that I didn't enjoy the role, it's just that I much preferred playing other roles. Like in Edge of the Forest, I preferred playing like the Lost, the Reclaimed and things. And that's saying something because, like I said, it's not that I didn't enjoy that role. I did enjoy that role, so the fact that that was probably my least favourite role means that I really, really enjoyed every other role that I've played. That's basically what I'm trying to get at.
And then if there was any role that you would want to play, I guess either from the mazes you've been in or I guess any other mazes.
Isn't a specific character, it's just a type of role that is very within horror and scare mazes. I'd love to play a vampire.
That'd be so good.
I really want to play a vampire.
Yeah.
I want my long canines. I want blood. I want beautiful contact lenses. I want a beautiful Victorian dress. Oh yeah, I want to be a vampire so bad.
Oh, they should have put you in the invitation. You would have been great.
Maybe more Terror of the Towers. Maybe more Terror of the Towers. I appreciated Towers because this is the good thing about Towers. I think they have their classic linear mazes. Stop zooming in. I can see that it's zooming into me and following me. Please stop.
I love how you're just telling off Zoom. It's so funny.
It's just... And the lighting's making me cheeks look dead red, but oh well. I appreciated Towers trying something different because, like, Edge of the Forest is pretty different, and that really was like it could go either way. And I do think that people's opinions are either way on that one, but overall it got really positive reviews. So I do appreciate like Towers having their classic linear mazes, which are always great to have, but then trying something different. Like this year was really diverse, really. You had your classic maze like Altonville. You've got Compound, which is where you get separated and you're more on your own. And then Edge of the Forest, yeah, it was a linear maze, but it was a really experimental linear maze with the repeating and things. So I really appreciated them doing that. So I liked them trying the invitation. Yeah, it might not have been everyone's cup of tea, but I did appreciate them trying something different.
We just like nicely pet invitation on the head in the corner and just say good boy, invitation, good boy. Right, so speaking of Edge of the Forest, are there any more details you can give on your Edge catch? I believe they're referring to the Lost character, and was she meant to be like the 13 girl in a way? Or...
Do you know what? I had so many comments on that. So many people thought I was 13 girl. So a lot of it, I think it's just because of my hair, really. Because surprisingly, 13 Girl is a character that I've always wanted to play. It was one of the reasons why like I did sort of audition Towers, because when I saw her roaming around 13, I was like, wow, this is like really cool. It looks really creepy. It's your typical type of like horror character, and I always wanted to play that. And wear the dress and have like the long black hair. But I'm glad that I was in Edge of the Forest this year. I think that's the maze that I would have wanted to have been in over like a Scare Zone or other mazes and things. No, technically my character isn't 13 Girl, but if I don't know if they're meant to be a little bit like 13 Girl or possibly like the raids, because I know in the poem, because this would be one of the lines that I would say to people, is thy body left to become a wraith. So that would be said in the poem. So it made me think like, oh, I wonder if this is sort of what become the raids almost, or maybe if they are quite like the 13 Girl, they become 13 girls or boys, something. I don't know. We didn't really get a lot of background on the characters, to be honest with you. So there's not really much info that I can give. Like I said, like sometimes you get given loads of background and sometimes you just get given a bit of info on what your character is physically and vocally meant to be like, and slight snippets of what's meant to have happened. So all that I'm aware about the characters of the Lost is that they've gone searching in the woods, either just that they have gone into the woods like people sometimes do, or that they've heard of this legend of the Lesh Wall and they've gone specifically searching for the Lesh Wall to see if it's true. Turns out it is. And they've been cursed by the Lesh Wall and the forest, and they're sort of becoming the forest. So as you get more and more into the forest, you'll start off by seeing a Lost that is a bit more humanistic. They can actually say lines, and as you get further and further in, they get a bit more crazed to the point that in the end they can't say any lines. It's more like hyperventilating, becoming quite psychotic, animal noises and shouting and things. So yeah, that's meant to be those characters, really, is that they're getting very possessed by the forest. They're almost becoming the forest. So I'd like to play my character in particular, quite especially as it got to the more psychotic point. I always quite like getting to a point where it sadistically seems like, because my character has been possessed so much that it's almost like they're enjoying themselves, not because they actually are, but the forest is convincing them that they're enjoying it. So I laugh manically quite a lot. I always like laughing when I'm scare action for some reason, but I'd laugh manically quite a lot and then quickly turn to like crying and would say things like, oh, the forest won't let us leave. We are the children of the forest. We are the forest. Like, stay with us. You can be one of the children, be our sister, be our brother. Let the forest claim you and things. So I would like to say sort of lines like that. So yeah, that's sort of what my character was, if that explained it.
Indeed it did. And also you're going to hate the notification I just got on my phone. There's been another question. Please tell me it's one.
No. I don't mean that. Thank you guys for all the questions. It's just
good news. It's one of the automatic ones that NGL sends. So the next one comes from Coasters and Spooks, and they asked, do you have any memorabilia from Altonville, or are there any cast exclusives from Scarefest? And what was her favourite role to play in Edge, which is quite a few. Also, P.S. she did a great backbend at me in Edge, and it was the scariest thing I've ever seen. So, another compliment.
I love a backbend. I remember I'm a member of the National Youth Theatre, so whilst I was at their summer school, it was just before starting Scarefest, so like I'd limber myself up a bit. So like as we were getting ready to start class, I'd just be doing crab walks and backbends, and everyone would just be like, oh, you're right. Oh, it's just Chloe doing it. You're right. Yeah. I'll answer my favourite role in the forest first. It was the Lost, or the Reclaimed. I'm not too sure what they're called. On the casting sheet, they were called Lost, but then in one of the videos, I think they called them the Reclaimed. So I don't know what they're called. But yeah, that was my favourite character, I think, because I have always wanted to play something possessed. Like in Altonville, they're quite realistic and human sort of characters. You know, it's, even though it's far-fetched, it's something that could happen. They're all human. But the forest is something a bit more paranormal and psychological, and like being possessed and cursed. So I quite liked that. Do you know what? I've answered most of these questions about Scarefest, and I forgot about like Dead Good Ghost Tour, really. Like I enjoyed playing all the characters in Dead Good Ghost Tour too. The ghosts were all great, and playing the tour guide Doug was great too. So yeah, I also enjoyed that. Although you didn't ask about that, you asked about the forest. In terms of if I have any memorabilia, because you've already sent me some of the questions so I could prepare, I've actually managed to find some memorabilia. Yes.
Oh, exciting.
So,
visual prompts.
I know. So I couldn't be bothered finding the hoodies that I've got. However, I have got pictures of them because Alton Towers itself has put them online. I think the designers put them online. So I've got this. This is the print that was on a hoodie for 2023, which I really liked because it's a like a really old style videotape, and the strings on it would be purple, so it was a really cool looking hoodie. I just really like the Altonville videotape for that, and it was the first year of Tiny's Revenge, so yeah, I loved that. And then I got this cast hoodie this year, which was the one that was more green and more based on camera. Oh my goodness, the zoom camera's not got to stop.
I love it.
But it was more based on that in particular was themed around Edge of the Forest and 13 in the Dark Forest, so that was a cool hoodie to have. So yeah, we got those because they really are just like cast and staff exclusives. Like none of the public really have those, so that's quite cool. But I've also got, which I've bought from, well, no, my boyfriend bought me this on the first day of Scarefest 23, which is really cute. I've got my little Altonville Skin Snatchers pin. It's interesting that they brought that out when it was Tiny's Revenge, but I'm glad that they did because I like Skin Snatchers. It would have been nice for there to also have been a Tiny's Revenge one, but I have got a Tiny's Revenge pop badge that Redbeard got for me.
Yeah.
I've got an Edge of the Forest pin badge. I did go and get that. Altonville from 2018. We got these little cards made for us, which were just cute, and it just says love and hugs from Elaine, who was our attractions manager that year, so that was a cute little thing. I do have something from Altonville 2017, but A, I can't find it, and B, it's a little bit crude, so I don't think I'll be able to show it on here anyway, because it was more of like a joke awards thing, because you'd sort of get awards every year for stuff. So like I have my 23 awards here, which everyone got given a different title, and I got given Tiny's favourite, because I'd always say that Cindy is Tiny's favourite, but also when we were doing the awards, because I've been in Altonville for so long, like they were sort of picking favourite moments from everyone. It was really sweet because when it got to me, they were like, we don't really have a favourite moment from you because every time we've been around and seen you, you've been giving it your all, and it's been great. Not that everyone else always gave their all, but I think because I've been in the maze for so long, it was so sweet. They were like, Altonville wouldn't be the same without you, so they gave me the Tiny's favourite award, which was very sweet. And then I've got this little. This is really cool. Yeah, because awesome. It looks really old style and things. And it's really cool. I think. And then we also got given little keyrings made for us, little Altonville keyrings. That's the memorabilia that I've got.
Yeah, so much. So wasn't there also like a Tiny's gas mask, like a golden trophy one, I think?
Yeah, so we gave basically we all chipped in to buy 2 gas masks to give to the show captain and the attractions manager for that year, and we spray painted them gold because every day there would be a Tiny's award. You do it every year. It's to build up the morale of all the cast, and at some point they make sure that every single cast member has got one, but they'll try and find like something great that you've done that day, so that it lifts up spirits and things. So every day there'd be an award given out to someone. So we then decided on the last day, well, we need to give an award to our managers and that, so we did the golden Tiny award, or the golden I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was meant to be a bit like Golden Freddy from Five Nights at Freddy's or something, but it was like the golden Tiny award, like as if it was like the ultimate award. So with like my mate spray painted this mask gold, and we like mounted it on this like plaque, and everyone signed it and things. So yeah, they were cool. So they weren't things that we got, but we gave them to the managers that worked on Altonville.
I love how Five Nights at Freddy's has somehow managed to come up to in this. We're so diverse with the conversations. This is awesome.
Do you know what? I don't think it really linked to. I don't think it was meant to be like Golden Freddy at all. I don't know why. As soon as I said Golden Tiny, for some reason in my head I thought, oh, Golden Freddy.
It's staying in. Next question is another one from NGL. How did working in Edge compare to Altonville, and how did working in the original version of Altonville compare to working in Tinies?
Forest was so different to Altonville. So different. Like I said, because it didn't really have rat runs. There were little parts where you could, which was really cool, but you could basically be in one part of like the forest because there was like about 4 or 5 forests, so you could be in like the first forest and then end up at the end of the second or the third one and guess to be freaked out as to how you've literally just seen them here and then gone round and managed to meet them here and be in front of them. There was like little doors and flaps that we could like secretly go through, but that's technically not a rat run because it's not a proper back lot where the guests can't see you. So that was really cool. But yeah, because there weren't really rat runs, it was so different because Altonville is full of rat runs. It is full of it. It's great, but it's been really good to work in 2 very different style of mazes. Like I was saying before, they're not overly humanistic. Some of them aren't very humanistic type of characters. That's been interesting, getting to be a bit more creature and possessed like. So yeah, the characterizations were very different too. It was weird because in Altonville I'd sort of constantly be trying to be on the ball with like lines and that. In terms of the original Altonville and Tinies, obviously it was the same, mostly the same layout. So it was different in terms of like playroom is what boiler room used to be, and that changed quite a lot with the rat runs and like this. So that took a little bit to figure out. That was quite cool. It was mainly the characterizations that were different. Like it was sort of the same accents, and obviously like I said, I chose to play my character a bit psychotic half the time. But it was still different because there was a lot of less reference into Skin, really. It was more about Tiny himself. You could reference Skin a little bit and be like, oh, like the classic, like trying to like take my scalp line about being pretty and things, and Tiny wanting to wear a bit of skin and that because obviously he appears at the end of the maze with a scalp and things on. And the scalps in the jars and that in Jar Room, but there wasn't quite as much focus on the skin and all that because it wasn't about that anymore. You could maybe say a line or two about like, oh, the legend's true, like they're real, like the snatches are real and all that, but yeah, there wasn't too much reference about them and about Skin as much. So that was more so the difference in how you actually played the characters and what you'd say. Obviously, the layout was kind of the same, but because of the type of characters that you're playing, it would actually make the scares a bit different. So yeah, it was still, it was nice to still technically be in Altonville, but it was different.
And I remember that basically I was bringing a lot of the Skin Snatcher stuff into Tinies by dressing up as a Skin Snatcher constantly, and then the interactions that I would get off, like Cindy, for an example, saying, oh my god, it's a Skin Snatcher. I think Tiny called me his brother as well. I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was a really good way to kind of bring that back in, is basically me forcing Skin Snatchers into Tinies as much as I could.
I remember that run through. We enjoyed it very much.
So next question, and this is the one that I'm really interested in answering as well, is do you think Tinies was a suitable sequel to OG Altonville, so the original?
I know why you're interested in that, because I sort of know your thoughts on that. I liked it. I really liked Tinies, or at least I did during like the opening year. I knew that the reviews and stuff, that not that reviews really matter, but well, no, they do. The reviews that we got were really good, and it was, as an actor in it, I really like the fact that I still got to be part of Altonville, which I really like, but it was different. And I did get sort of like a bit more free reign on my character and that, so I do like the fact that it's in these mines, but because everyone was getting so used to Skin Snatchers now and they wanted something different, but people do like Altonville. It was a way of keeping Altonville but carried on the story. I do understand that Altonville is Skin Snatchers, so not having them is a little bit weird. Tiny is technically a Skin Snatcher, but he is in a different costume, which I really like. I love the boiler suit gas mask combo because it is in the mines, and I just like that sort of costume in general. I just really, I don't know why I find it quite creepy, gas masks and that. I've always had a thing about finding them really cool and creepy. So I really do like it, and the fact that there are like quite different characters and some different routes. It's still Altonville, but it's very different, like with the characters and that. But I do understand your point of view, which I know what you're going to say of there aren't any snatches in there. But I do think it's a good way of having a compromise of people thought that Altonville was like around for too long, but they also do really like it, and I think they'd be gutted if it went. So it's still Altonville, but a lot of what made it Altonville has also sort of been taken out, but it is still the same layout and maze and environment and that. So I like it. Is it better than Skin Snatchers? No. Skin Snatchers is the lore and the storyline and the background behind it is just pretty perfect. So Skin Snatchers is the better maze. But I like Tiny's. At least in 23, I quite liked it. It was quite strong.
I think, as you just said, like, kind of my opinion on it is that I think while it was still good to continue the Altonville storyline, the Altonville mines, I do think I do kind of wish that, similar to I think how a lot of people are thinking now with Altonville, is that continue the Altonville storyline but kind of take it out of the mines. So oddly enough, I've actually done my own idea for what I'd do for Tiny's Revenge, but it would take it out of the mines and like take it to a completely. I've always thought of kind of like a gasworks in a way, and that would kind of still work for kind of like the boiler suit and stuff, and still have a load of victims going around that. And I think that would have worked for the kind of darker vibes as well, because I think it's such a vibe shift compared to like the morbid fun of the original. It goes so dark with the storyline. It just feels like could have just done.
It's quite disturbing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like you could have just.
I think that was partly my fault. I think some of the lines that I'd say to people were quite tragically disturbing.
And I loved every single one of them. They were great.
I do get what you mean, though. Altonville has always been around, technically, since Scarefest started. The name and the town has always sort of been around, so it would be great to carry on Altonville, but to leave anything to do with like the Snatchers behind now and go on to something new. That would be cool.
Absolutely. Don't take my idea, Towers, please. I want to do that myself. The next question is another one from Ash from Twitter, which is, any cool facts or interesting stuff that goes on in rehearsals?
Sort of answered this before, actually, in terms of like cool facts about the fact that to do with like, do you get any like background info on the characters, that technically in rehearsals, like with the original Altonville, for example, we got a lot more background on the characters than guests might realise. That, like I said, was originally meant to be in the sister script and then wasn't. So that's something pretty cool, is that there's background stuff to the characters that people wouldn't realise, and that they do actually have like names and that they're not just Bride. Like Bride actually has a name and things. Yeah, rehearsals are just basically a way of like, you get given directions, but then you figure out there and then like what's sort of good for scaring. So it's a lot of testing the waters and that, really. If you're a returner teaching the newbies, or if it's a new maze trying to figure out how to do this new maze yourself, and then helping out the completely new people with how to operate.
And I imagine kind of a lot more of the fun stuff kind of comes once the maze is actually running, and like kind of once I guess kind of once the cast is more kind of integrated with each other, that's kind of where kind of like the fun moments happen.
Yeah, I mean, in rehearsals, I remember for us to get to, I remember in the first year that I did Altonville, for us to get to know the maze, but to also get to really gel with each other, because this is the thing with Altonville in particular, it's about a very, very close family, as close as you could possibly get. So we all had to get very close with each other, because it did genuinely work. I remember other mazes saying like, oh, we're so jealous of Altonville because you guys are like that with each other. It's only been a few days and you're like this. But you sort of have to be. In the original Altonville in particular, you had to have gotten like very close and things. I always remember us playing sardines. So we all stood at the entrance of Altonville, and then one person went to hide, and then we all had to try and find it. So it got us to know the maze, because they could be anywhere in the maze. And then once you did find them, you'd go and hide with them, and then other people would. So that was a very fun way of getting very close and cozy with each other and getting to know the maze, and all getting very comfortable. Like I have found that with scare acting in general, but in particularly with Altonville, particularly Skin Snatchers, it would literally only take a day and you'd be making jokes to each other because of the kind of maze that it is and how the family are. You'd be making jokes to each other as though you've known each other for like 10 years. Like you'd become like best mates, and it was so great. I've never quite experienced anything like it again. Like, don't get me wrong, I've gotten close to people, but it's usually taken like a tiny bit longer. Whereas, yeah, I remember in Altonville in particular, in Altonville like 2017 and 2018, it took half a day and we were all like this, like literally. So yeah, that was great.
You did not see the face I made when you said sardines. I was like, whoa, what's this new fact? That's sardines.
I was in, wait, you obviously know what sardines is, don't you?
Oh yeah, like I know what sardines. Yeah. I was just like,
because you were like,
no, but yeah.
You were like, what sardines?
Yeah, cool, fun new story. We're getting new stuff.
Have I never told you that?
No,
yeah, we all played.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we played like 2 or 3 rounds of sardines, and I will never forget that on like this on one of the first go that we did of it. I don't know how this managed to go on for this long, but the person that hid in the sister room in the car, that's in the corner,
Oh,
and
yeah. Oh, yeah.
so when we were all hiding, we were literally cramped. There was spiders above us and everything, and people were like, "Oh!"
Jesus
I didn't mind. I
Christ.
love spiders.
Yeah.
But I don't know how no one found us. Like, I don't know how that game wasn't over like immediately because we were literally in the sister card.
Yeah. Next question. Very simple one, I'm hoping. Altonville or Edge, and an OG Altonville or Tiny's. You have to pick.
Oh, Jotunville for everything. I loved Edge of the Forest. But I probably, if I had to pick in order, it would be OG Altonville. Oh wait, would it be Tiny's next or would it be Edge of the Forest? Because Edge of the Forest was just so different. I don't know, like because Tiny's is still technically Altonville. Yeah, it's always OG Altonville. I loved Tiny's in its opening year. I really did love it. So it probably then would be Tiny's. But in terms of like this year, what I would have picked to have been in, it would have been Edge of the Forest over Tiny's. So yeah, that's where it gets slightly confusing because overall, yeah, I prefer Tiny's, but this year in particular, I do prefer the Forest. So yeah, I don't know. Ultimately, OG Altonville.
Next question, another one from Elise. Any favourite scare acting moments?
Oh my gosh, too many. This would go on for like 15 minutes. Too many. One of my favourite moments, I was talking to about this the other day, but an actor from 22 in OG Altonville who was really, really great. He was one of the great scare actors in there. He was really good as brother. He was playing Jock one day whilst I was baby, and we cornered this really terrified woman at the back. We just cornered her at this part in bunks, and it just got to the point where like she was just screaming at anything. So we were like, just because in Altonville, like because of the way that the maze is and the way that the family are, you can have like a bit more fun and do quite silly things. So we were like dancing for her and like wouldn't let her pass, and she was like, ah, ah, and her family had just disappeared on her. Don't know where they'd ended up going, and no more guests were like coming around. So we were just like, and then in the end we were like, oh, we're only joking, love. Like we'll let you go, and I'll go on. And she was like, and went to walk, and we were like, and at the same time we both went, and then we just carried on and just wouldn't let her go. Some of my favourite moments have been when on Sister or just after Sister, because mentioning the cart again, guests would get in the cart because they thought it was a ride. So they'd walk past me, who was like helping to like line them up and all that, and then I'd be saying to the rest of the guests at the end of the group like, yep, line up, and then I'd turn around and guests would be in the cart, and I'd go,
get out of the car.
I'd walk over really calmly and go, I go, what are you doing? And they'd be like, I was just getting in the car. I'd be like, why? And they go, because we're just waiting for the ride to start. And I'd be like,
oh my god.
I'd be like, it's not. I said, you're in a mine. Because obviously I'd stay in character. I'd be like, you're in a mine right now. And they'd be like, yeah, but it's like a mine cart ride, isn't it? There's a cart here. And I'd be like, what? I remember getting one guest, and I got one guy, and I was like, come with me. He went, put your hand against this. And I went, what is that? He went, a wall. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, so where do you think the mine cart's going to go? I was like, it's not going anywhere. It's not a ride. I was like, get out the car.
Oh my god.
Oh no, another one. This isn't a scary moment, but one of my favourite moments, I must have told you this so many times, is when I was on Brother. And a guy at the very, very end, like all the group went in, and this guy was just walking very slowly, and I was like, oh, just through here to Sister Sarah, and he was like, this, you're not American. And I was like,
I don't think I have heard this one.
have you not?
No.
He looked at me and was looking around, looked at me and went, bet you're not an actual American. And I was like, sir, I am.
Oh my god.
And he was like, no, bet you're not actually from South America. Tapped on the wall and went, bet this isn't even a real mine. And I was like, sir, it is. But it was just hilarious because it's clearly the towers. You've just queued up past the tower. And he was like, bet this isn't even a real mine.
Jesus Christ.
I found it so funny. I loved that. I love that. And another guest who was really scared on Brother, and she wanted to leave. So you stay in character, but once the guests had gone through, she was crying her eyes out. And she was like, I can't go in. And I was like, that's fine. But I stayed in character, stayed in accent. And I was like, it's all right, love, don't worry. She was like, God, I'm really sorry. She was like, you're just so scary. And I was like, no, it's fine, it's fine. And she was like, "Are you actually American?" And I was like, "Ma'am, of course I am." I said, I'm from Texas." And she was like, "Wow, that's amazing that they've actually gone to that depth to hire actual Texan actors." And I was like, "I'm not an actor, ma'am." I said, I'm part of my family are in these mines." And I was like, it's a tour and that. And she was so confused because I stayed in character. She was like, "Of course," I said, "I'm not an actor." I said, "I'm just about to take you through to my sister, but if you're scared of mines, it is quite dark down there. It's fine." And she was so confused.
So what we just established from that is Chloe's favourite moment was traumatising an old lady in the corner of bunks. That's what we've established now.
Yeah.
Yeah, my God, like because that one with that guy who didn't believe it's kind of the best, but also the worst at the same time. That is insane.
I love it. It's one of my favourite. It's just the way he tapped the wall. He went, I bet. It's the way he didn't even go, "This isn't even mine." He went, "I bet this isn't even a real mine."
The poor art department at Merlin Magic Making must have been Jesus. Luckily they didn't hear that. So speaking of the pre-shows as well, the next question is, how difficult is it working pre-show and scaring during very busy times, like where there's a lot of people coming through?
I would say that doing the pre-show is more difficult than scaring in busy times. Like when you're scaring, it can sometimes the groups are just one after another, and it's very like fast paced and you get out of breath, but you get into a routine, you get used to it, and you can sort of you can do quite like, not all scares have to be loud and very impactful and fast, just your presence being there. Like I like to use silence quite a lot to scare guests because they're not I like to use creepiness quite a lot. I do a lot of what's called impact scares, which is where you do sort of jump and make a guest scream. I love doing that, but I'm very much into what's called a sustain scare and a distract scare. So I will be at the end of the room or on the bed and that, very still, and the guests will be looking at me and they're like, "I really don't want to go towards her. She's really creepy. She's so still." And then another actor will scare them, but I love doing the sustain stuff. So yeah, I don't mind scaring during busy times, but oh my goodness, doing the pre-show. Oh, so out of breath, and you have to get really fast paced. Like one group will you'll halve the script out. You'd try not to, but if you had to cut the script down a little bit, you'd finished, and then the next guest would literally be already in the room, and you'd be like, "I don't know," because you wouldn't sometimes be able to tell when they're coming. You'd be able to sort of hear from Brother, but if you're in the motion of doing the script, like doing pre-show during very busy times is difficult. Though sometimes with Altonville, if we had like really great hosts, even if they were wanting to speed up, the host would keep on coming around the corner to check, like, "Brother, are you done? Okay, send the next group round." But then sometimes they would just keep on sending them, and it'd be like, "Oh."
The next one isn't a question, but it's someone I think you might have heard him called Redbeard by any chance. Sounds like a familiar
Oh
name.
no, I don't recognise that name. Does he have a red beard?
Possibly, I might have seen him a few times on Park, and he's just put Granddaddy's favourite sister because he obviously does the Granddaddy outfit, and obviously you were great as sister, so there we go.
Thank you.
Yeah. For this, I kind of have a funny story that happened this Scarefest just gone, where it was on Scare Amazing, I think, and I wasn't in my Skin Snatcher costume for that one. I was in like the new one teen that I'd done the kind of devilly. I think I saw you that morning actually. We met up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that morning in the costume. And so I was walking across the white bridge going towards the towers, and he was walking across as Granddaddy, and he was like, "Why aren't you in your Snatcher stuff, boy?" And I was like, "I'll be in it next week. Okay, I promise." but it was funny because it was with the rest of the Scare Amazing lot who had no idea who he was, and he shouted really loudly. And I was like, "It's okay, I know that guy."
So I remember one of the days, it might have been the Scare Amazing day, but he came in normal clothes. So I saw him, scared him and the other members of his group. And then he came in literally probably 10-15 minutes later, underwear and an axe. And I was like, you should have seen my face, like, bearing in mind that I am being possessed and all that. So I came up and I was like, and my face must have just gone. I was like,
Yeah.
and then he just stayed, because he was at the back of the group. Redbeard has this thing. You really do this, where he just lingers. He just stays there for ages, just waiting for you to do more. It's like his own little personal show. He's just like... And in the end, because he just kept on making all the references to me, I was like, fine. And I'd go from being like, and then I was like, sister loves you, granddaddy. And I was like,
Yes.
sister misses you. And then we were just stood in the middle of the maze singing Most Beautiful Girl. And then I just quickly went back to going, get out, move.
The one time I wish mazes had CCTV is whenever Redbeard goes through a maze in that costume.
I've seen him in Altonville many times, and it's great. Love seeing him. But it was the fact that he was in Edge of the Forest. He was in normal clothes, and then 10 minutes later, he's in his underwear with an axe, and I was like, I was doing a borderline like twisting my body, nearly backbending, and it's so dark in there. So as I just came up through the light, I was like,
what have you done?
I was literally like, how have you done this? I messaged him straight after and I was like, how? And he went, yeah, I went into the bathroom to get changed. And I was like, that was so quick. I was like, I've just seen you.
So the next question is, apparently Altonville has had some hauntings. Have you had any experience of this?
No.
No, next question.
I'm joking. So I believe obviously the towers are meant to be haunted. I don't know if I believe in ghosts or not. I really don't know. I used to. Now I'm quite like, I haven't had much. Bearing in mind I've been in that maze since 2017. I've not had much in there at all. Of course, that could be me thinking that everything is just your mind playing tricks on you. But then I do think that's more of a plausible explanation, really. Like everything sort of does have an answer to it, but the part that I had the most sort of haunting experiences was there's I think they said as well it's the longest rat run out of any of the mazes at Towers. It's a rat run, you've probably seen it. It goes from where you first go into Altonville, and there's like this curtain just before you go into the sister room, so it goes all the way from there right through to just after Bunks and Tannery, where you go to Duck Down. It goes all that way. Obviously it is very, very dark there, but the amount of times that like I've walked and I've thought that another actor's been, I can literally see the outline of another actor, and I've been like, hey, or who is that? And then they've not responded. I've been like, who's that? And as I've gotten closer, there's just nothing there, and I'm like, I literally saw someone there. Again, that could be your eyes playing tricks on you. I've thought that I saw someone in like a Victorian or maid sort of outfit there before. Everyone has mentioned this at some point. Every ghost seems to be in a Victorian or maid outfit. I mean, very, very likely because it's in the tower, so that would make sense. But again, the next room that I've probably had the weirdest experience in is Sister, because with the door that goes into elevator, bearing in mind that's shut until I let you in. It's a sturdy door, like it stays shut the whole time, but now and again on its own. This is what I mean. I wouldn't be bothered if it happened all the time, but it would just creak and just open fully. And I'm like, it's always been quite windy and cold out there. Like, why is it only just doing this now? That was kind of weird. It always seems to be the room where you're sort of on your own the most. So Sister, you are quite isolated unless you go to the front to see Brother, or you quickly just have a little word with whoever's playing Snatch in elevator. You are sort of isolated. I tell you what, it is so creepy going into the maze when it's off and it's not operating. So I've had to go into the maze sometimes when it's been the end of the day and someone's left something down there, and I've offered to go and get it, because people are quite scared of going into the maze when it's off, because all of the lights are off. There's no tech, there's no music. You're on your own. It's quite scary. And I've done it before in OG Altonville when I've gone to retrieve the doll with a friend, but I've gone to retrieve the doll, and we did this whole little like ghost hunter thing. We did like this whole video that's quite
I think I've
funny.
seen that as well. Yeah.
Have you seen? Yeah, you must have seen that one. Yeah. I think that's quite infamous amongst the Altonville actors. That video. I went down during Tinies as well, because we play a game where like to just keep everyone's mood up, where there'd be an object that if you get handed it by another actor, you need to pass it on to another actor. You can't pass it on back to that same actor, but if you've got it by the end of the day, then you've got to do some sort of embarrassing or weird forfeit. So no one wants that. So whoever had clearly got it at the end of the day had just chucked this object on the floor. And then people were like, who's got the object? People were like, no one has it. We were like, it must be back in the maze then. So I was like, I'll volunteer to go and get it. I'm not forfeiting, but I'll volunteer to go and get it. So I went in, it was in, I can't remember if it was in Playroom or the Sister Room, but I went down, I had to put my torch on, and I was like, oh, this is so freaky, especially Playroom. That is so freaky if all the mazes are. The maze itself, especially when it's off, is scary, but yeah, I haven't had too many haunting experiences. Even when I did a Ouija board one night during the mid-run. I did a Ouija board, and that still didn't. I even said to her, I went, come and visit me in Altonville if there's anything there, and nothing did.
I can imagine like the second room of Jars as well. We have like the big splayed skin on the ceiling and like all those different faces on the walls. I can imagine that would be quite creepy. Because I remember, I think it was at one of the Christmas events, they left the exit of Altonville open, and I looked in and I was like, I'd love to go in there, but at the same time, that would be terrifying when everything's off and it's just silent. That would be really creepy.
So how I'd leave the maze normally of a night is the quickest way sometimes is to go through the dressing room. You'd either come out right by gift shop, or you could come through a back part of Jars, and you'd walk through Jars and through gift shop and that, and you'd have to have the torch on and that. And yeah, that was kind of creepy. Yeah, with all the obviously the jars and that, but I would still say like Sister in Playroom, like you can literally see remnants of like mist and smoke going past, and it's just so quiet and so. Yeah, I think because Jars is filled with so much, you're quite like, okay, there's a lot going on here. Whereas Sister, and the way that Playroom is, because it is all the toys and that's quite creepy. But Sister is like so, like just there. It's just quite a creepy room, to be honest with you.
So the next question, another one from Elise, is if you could create your own scare attraction, what theme would you choose?
I'd probably quite like to choose quite like a psychological theme. So I always sort of link a maze to a video game when I'm playing it, because it helps me get like quite hyped up for it, because I'm really into, I said before, I'm really into like horror video games. So when I got cast in Altonville, I thought of it as quite like Resident Evil 7, with like one of the lines that me and like two of the other actors would always say is welcome to the family, boy. I used to love saying that. And then with Edge of the Forest, I thought that was quite like Silent Hill, because in Silent Hill, particularly in Silent Hill 2, you go through a forest. And it is quite psychological with the repeating and things, so it felt quite like Silent Hill to me. So I would like, I think, to do, if I was to do my own scare maze, it would be very inspired by Silent Hill and the psychologicalness of that. I'd have like the monsters or the creatures very, there'd be a reason for them, and I'd have hints to that like in the queue line or in the trailer, and that guests would have to figure out. I'd have like a really impactful, if I could, like I'd want it to be quite theatrical. I want there to be a storyline to it, good characters, like a reason for the monsters, like they are a projection of something. Like there's a reason, again, like Silent Hill is like there's a reason why they're there, in that way they represent something. And I'd have it quite sad, to be honest with you. I don't know, I'd have something quite emotional to it, because I think that horror is good when there's some sort of emotion to it. I know that this is very in-depth for something that's just a maze, but I feel like it'd be quite cool to do something like that, where you come out and you're a bit like, oh, that was quite tear-jerking.
Very, very nice. I'll just like a nice little zoom in on when you just do the tear-jerking. Yeah. There we got the money shot. There we go. Right. The next question is, what has your favourite year at Scarefest been? I guess as an actor, but also just in general. I guess which one you maybe think strongest.
Even as a guest.
Yeah, can do.
So working there, it will always be 2018. Loved 2018. Yeah.
The first year you met me.
Yeah, I loved 2017 too. Loved 2022. I adored 23 of Tiny's Revenge. That will always be a very good year as well. That's 100% the strongest year of Tiny's, and it will always be the strongest year of Tiny's. Skin Snatchers are like quite a few strong years again. I think 22 was really good, but I think because the maze had been around quite a while, I don't think people realised how good it was. I think if people knew that was the last year of it, I think it would have been a lot more appreciated at the time. But overall, from being an actor in there and seeing the reviews of guests and what guests even now say, I think 2018 was the strongest year. But 2017 was good as well. In terms of a guest, I would have to say it was probably the first year that I visited Scarefest, which was 2011, and also the year of the Ultimate Sleepover. They were like the two strongest years as a guest for me.
I think Ultimate Sleepover was 2014, I think. It was either 2014 or 15, I know. Yeah,
so they're the two, 2011, and then whatever year was Ultimate Sleepover. Yeah, it was either 2013 or 2014, wasn't it? I think it was just for 1 year, wasn't it? Yeah, they were my strongest years going through as a guest.
The next one is from someone called Barnaby, who asked, who is your favourite person to work in Edge? And I wonder why he asked this question.
Who's my favourite person to work in Edge with?
Zoom's doing like a really good zoom in on you, by the way, when you do that, which is so funny.
No, I love working with you, Barnaby. Whenever, the thing is, me and Barnaby for the whole time were like, we want to work together. We got to work slightly together at one point. We really enjoyed it, and then we kept on saying like, oh my gosh, we want to like be in an area together again. and we just weren't. And then on the final day, which I think has become quite infamous for Edge of the Forest now, I've seen a lot of comments and reviews about this final day in Edge of the Forest, where all of the really intense, experienced actors were in the final forest section, and me and Barnaby were together for quite a bit, because I was in that last part and Barnaby was sort of like alternating round. That was really great. Everyone was like just getting pounced at. It was a really good day. So yeah, I loved working with Barnaby. Barnaby was great. There you go, my love.
Yeah, hi, Barnaby. You have no idea who I am, but hello. So the next question is, they say strange question. I don't really think this is a strange question. It's a good one. Do you have any favourite Scare Maze soundtracks or like music from Scare Mazes?
I think the obvious answer does have to be Most Beautiful Girl. Yeah. That is, no matter, even after all those years of hearing that song over and over and over, it is just great. It suits Altonville so well, obviously especially OG Altonville. It is great that it's still including Tiny's. It's that lovely little snippet of, oh, this is still here, remember the skin snatchers and all that, and it does still link to Tiny a little bit because he is with the wig on. There's nothing quite like having worked in OG Altonville, hearing that music. I don't think if you've only worked in Tiny's, you'd properly get to experience that feeling and memory of that song. I do recall, like, it'd be so funny, like, I'd start the Scarefest run being like, love this song, I'd be in bunks like, yeah, all the actors would be like, they're like, was she crying? We'd be like, yes. And then 5 minutes later we'd be like, I love how it zoomed into that.
Yeah,
that's
just
so
another
dramatic.
zoom in. I love it. I don't have to do any editing on this, it's just all done for me by Zoom.
We'd literally just be like, single tear would just drop and we'd be like,
and I can see that tear because
yeah.
zoomed in on Zoom.
We'd be sat there like, okay, this is getting a bit much now. Then it'd get a bit psychotic, start rocking, was she crying? And then 5 minutes later it'd be like, love this song, love it. Another 10 minutes to go by and we'd be like,
the Stockholm
because
Syndrome was actually for the Most Beautiful Girl and not for Tiny's. You were trapped by that song.
Yeah, because the thing is, so that once you got into bunks, that song was just throughout, basically. It wasn't just in jars, it was throughout. But the thing is, whatever section of the maze you were in, it was just one part of the song that'd repeat. So if you were in bunks, it wasn't even like the whole song would play. One verse would just repeat over and over. The amount that the actors had just danced to that song, like... But we all love it, The next bit of music that I really like, which you will know my absolute love for this song.
I think I was going to bring it up.
You know my love for this song, and most people won't even realise that it's part of it, but in the Tiny's queue line from the tent, sometimes on rotation, a song called Baby's Got Her Blue Jeans On would play. Yeah. I love that song. I love the guitar bit during the chorus, because the thing is, where we are on break, and in like the dressing room and that, every time on break I would just hear that song playing, and I'd just hear the little snippets of it going, and I'm like, what is that? It's getting stuck in my head. I love it. So I had to, like, the manager came through one day and I was like, what is this song that you've put here? And he was like, oh, it's this. Started playing it on his phone, and I was like, oh, I love that. And most people, like, you didn't even realise that song was there, but because I would hear it all the time on break, because our dressing room is right across from the tent, I would just hear it all the time. So I love that song. But anything really to do with Altonville, I like the music of. Like, I love the theme song that plays, the actual theme music that was created that plays in the queue line, and it plays during the brother speech. And then when you go into Sister, it's really clever, because all throughout the maze it's little snippets of that theme song. So when you go into Sister, there's little snippets of that play, and when you go through to like Boiler Room and that, little bits of that from the queue line, but just those little moments of play, and I don't think many people would realise it. And what's clever about Tiny's is Tiny's had a different soundtrack, but you can hear the tiniest bit of instruments and snippets from that original theme, so it's been really cleverly done. So I do really appreciate the music in Altonville.
The next question, a very important question from Elise. Who's your favourite cosplayer and why is it Elise?
Well, it's Elise because I know no other cosplayer. No, that's a joke. Yes, of course it's Elise, yeah. But I don't think I know any others. I don't think I do. Do I know any other cosplayers? If I do, then they're a secret cosplayer. oh yeah. Oh. You,
I'm keeping that in.
You. It's closing in on me again.
It's doing the dramatic zoom and I love it. It's so great.
Yeah, you and Elise. I love your skin snatcher costumes. I love that Elise has done baby. I love that she's done sister,
Sister was so
particularly
good,
that
yeah.
it's obviously like my sister with all the kisses and that, and my like poses and that. So I love that, you know, because I'm a massive narcissist. And I've adored that she did an Altonville Edge of the Forest cross, that
Yes,
she
yeah,
did
that's nice.
basically what was like Cindy or just a cheerleader with the like the makeup that I do for Edge of the Forest, like with the moss and then like the sort of like veiny eyes and that and blood and like crying blood and things and the bloody nose. So yeah, I thought that was cool.
I'm so keeping that bit in. That's hilarious. That might actually become a short. That that'll be the first one I put up, and that'll just give the entire vibe for the interview. Next question is, what do scare actors do between guests, and do actors ever come across each other in different mazes? I guess this kind of more applies to the towers when there were multiple mazes in there.
Yeah, when the mazes were in the towers, we'd always come across each other. Like sometimes, I think in 2018 there was like a designated like Altonville dressing room, subspecies dressing room, but we would literally be right next to each other, so we'd always walk past each other and see each other on break and that. When it was in 2017, we'd all sort of get changed together because Terror of the Towers was in there as well. And it was really nice because those years I felt like I made friends from like multiple mazes, whereas nowadays it feels more like you're just sort of friends mainly with your maze. But back then, like I would see so many people and become friends with them. It'd be really great. But everyone would always say how close Altonville were, like I've always said. Like I said before, it was quite noticed how close Altonville were. But yeah, we'd come across other mazes all the time. But when it did change to when the attic came in, they were on another level of the towers, so we would literally hardly ever see them. And I just remember like you'd maybe walk past them now and again on break, and you'd just be like, you'd do that English. You're right, yeah. And it's just mad because like when it was back with like Subspecies and Terror of the Towers, you'd walk up to each other and you'd be like, oh, hello, enjoy your day in the maze. Your maze is great. Love you. Love the maze. And it was still nice, but like you just wouldn't see each other as much, which is a shame. I understood why they had like their separate areas and that, but it was a shame to not mingle as much. So yeah, you would see other actors when it was back then. But what was the other question? Oh, about actors in between guests.
Yeah, like what do you do between like when guests are coming through? What's she allowed
The only
to
things
say?
that are popping into my head. So in between guests, like it's quite funny because we have to keep ourselves quite energetic. So a lot of the time, like we would like play games and things. We'd dance to Most Beautiful Girl. We'd like play games. We'd sometimes like play hide and seek and that because as long as whatever character was meant to be what guests would first see into that next room, like they were keeping an eye, like you'd keep yourself like energetic and things. In the original Altonville, it'd be quite good when they had the helmets because you would always be able to tell, like particularly with bunks, because baby would be sort of sat on the bed, you could literally see the red light appearing or you'd hear Jock and you'd be like, right, the guests are coming. So it was very good to be able to like do stuff then and you'd know when the guests were about to come. But my favourite memory. I've got two favourite memories, and I definitely can't. Can I? Let's see if I can keep this in or not. I'll say it.
I can
and
edit it out if needed. So.
Let's see. Have I told you the takeaway story?
No, I don't think so.
Have I not? Have I
No.
not? Have I never told you this story?
No, I don't think so.
This is a belter. Well, it's not. People will watch this now and go, "That wasn't a belter at all. You just lied."
Put that in the comments, everyone.
And then when?
That's amazing. That is awesome.
That's my favourite story.
I can't believe I haven't heard that one before. That's great.
I can't believe I've never told you that. I've definitely told you this next one, which is...
Have you only been in scare mazes? And if so, would you like to be in a zone or roaming actor at any point?
So at Scarefest and at events like that, yeah, I've only ever been in scare mazes. I would like to roam and be in a zone because it'd be quite different. But if someone was to say to me, right, you can only do one type of attraction for the rest of your life, what would you like to do? It would be a scare maze. Like they're the exciting ones, are they? They're the ones that are quite cool. But the roaming and the scare zones are cool as well because like people can just sort of keep on coming through them or keep on seeing you. And all us actors are narcissists, so we love getting the pictures and the videos, so that's a good thing for being in like the zones and roaming. But you do have to, great for improv and having fun with the guests and that, particularly the roaming. I like the style of acting in a scare maze. I think my style of acting is a bit, because I'm so used to it now, it's probably a bit too creepy and intense for a zone. I would have to try and figure out to really hold it back. Because it was difficult enough when Forest first opened, like remembering to not touch and things and to try and draw it back a bit. So yeah, I think I'd quickly learn it. That's what you have to do as an actor. But yeah, I'm more suited to scare me style of acting. I always wanted to do, once I realised that, because when Carnival of Screams was on, they used to do the clown breakout, which was so cool. And I thought it was the actors that they'd shut the maze for a bit and then the actors would break out. But then I realised it turns out it's not. It was the roaming team that would go into the maze and then would pretend to be the clowns from in there breaking out. So that was just so cool. I'd have loved to have done that. So yeah, I would have loved to have been part of the roaming team doing stuff like that. The freak show zone and the zombie stuff was like really cool as well, and like the people that go around on like the little buggies and that. So yeah, I'd have liked to have done that. But ultimately, yeah, I'd prefer being in a scare maze.
And it also means I could actually film you more, which would be great. More Chloe content on the channel at that point.
Yeah, this is the thing. You can't really get any content in a maze, can you? The only content that I really have is like the many various audios that it turns out people have recorded that I just so happen to be in,
like and
some of the marketing stuff. And I've been in like quite a few marketing stuff. Like there's so much every year. There's so much footage that gets recorded but doesn't get used. But Tiny's Revenge, they've used pretty much everything they can of me in that, I think. And that was all just from 20. That's literally the only footage I think that they've used of Tiny's is from 23. They just keep on using all that. Every time that I think, surely there's no more footage that they've got of me, there's something else. I'm like, I can't remember filming this.
Well, speaking of stuff outside of Scare Maze as well, another thing was the Dead Good Ghost Tour. Go and watch it on the channel now, it's great. So how was working on the Dead Good Ghost Tour compared to like doing traditional Scare Mazes and stuff?
It was nice because there was still scare acting included, but because it was outside, it was quite different. There was a lot of pressure to it. So if I was like the tour guide, it's a huge script. It's basically like a theatre show. There's a lot of improv that can be with it. Very funny, very fun, but there's a lot of specific stuff that you need to remember about each spot that you go into. So there is like a lot of pressure with it. Being the ghost is so much fun because you're swapping around playing loads of different characters, but again, you're on a time constraint because you're trying to keep up with the tour guides whilst getting changed and run into the areas where you cannot be seen by the guests and then pop out. There's very specific areas. So it was great because it was like very theatrical, scripted, but also a lot of improv, but still scare acting, but just obviously not quite as intense and not as much impact as in a maze because it's outside. But sometimes like the screams that I'd get from being outside and doing some of the roles that I did, like still some of the screams that I've got, I was like, wow, I didn't think I'd ever get this being outside and that. So yeah, it was different, but a nice different.
And I think you may have just answered the next couple of questions, which is because the next couple of questions are, how does the scripted role compare to scaring, which I feel like that one's kind of been answered. And then the other one was, how was learning all the lines for the Dead Good Ghost Tour almost like a theatre performance? And technically you said theatre performance, but
so whenever I was the tour guide, I remember the other person who would play did quite a lot with me. She said that in some ways I was her favourite dog to work alongside because characterised it really well, would interact with the audience and with her a lot, knew my lines, but she was also like, I would also be quite worried because didn't know what you were going to do. She was like, you just start improv stuff, and she was like, I'd be like, I don't know what Chloe's about to do on this tour.
I remember the last tour I went on, which was the second one that I recorded, where it was the most chaotic one because of the group we had. I think it was like, what was the name now? I can't remember what the name of the woman was now.
What was it? Kathy?
Kathy. It was Kathy, yes. And that was just so funny, just constantly hearing you and Rachel go like, Kathy, honestly, what are you doing, Kathy? That was just so funny throughout the night.
She would just be stood there and a ghost would walk past and we'd be like, Kathy, this is all your fault.
I love
Dafty.
And wasn't there a bit like on the bit where you have the like the headless character come along? There was like some football fans who came along from behind, I think. And then you just interacted with them. That was like I think the performance on some of the other ones was well done, but on that one it was just so fun because of the guests that we had for it.
Oh yeah, when you've got a great bunch of guests, like the improv and the interactions that you can have are so great. Like even like you said, like there was a guy that walked past her in one section, and mine and Rachel's characters, we play it very like we got a lot of comments on how it was like, which is how I always imagine, like when I was playing that role, I knew that I wanted it to be very quite like Rick Mail as Richie and Bottom. I don't know why I very much imagined it as Richie and Eddie. So it just came out that way. And a lot of reviews that we got on TripAdvisor was people going, very Richie and Eddie. And I was like, yes, they're getting it. They're getting what I'm going for. They're getting what I'm putting down. Yes. So like this guy walked past and we just would always pretend to be very interested in any men that was out there. So he'd walk past and he was like, sorry. We were like, you will be. And then we were like, oh, it's a man. Oh, a man. And then we'd be like, no, Dig, get it together, Dig, we've got to get it together. Yeah, it was so much fun. Yeah. Sad that that's over a bit because I loved working with Rachel and that, and doing the ghost was fun as well. So yeah, all of it was a lot of good fun with the other actors.
And then seeing me constantly coming along multiple times, and
you were very supportive. I think that business managed to run for longer because of you, because you just supplied them with all the money.
I had a stake in that business at that point because
pretty much, yeah, you had percentage in it. Yeah,
absolutely. That's not confirmed, by the way, but. Yeah. Oh, you'll love the next section as well because it's about the other stuff other than scare acting, so you'll love that. Yay! It's the fun bit.
Yeah.
Right. So the next question is: any interests as well as scare acting, like outside of the scare world?
Well, I sort of mentioned this before, but like just acting in general, yeah. Like I've got some short films coming up that I'm gonna direct, write, and starring because that keeps costs down and makes it easier. So I'm planning on doing some like quite creative short films, all a little bit psychological and horror based because they would have to be because it's me. Music as well. I do like a lot of music stuff, but I've just never been brave enough to, for some reason, fine with acting stuff, but I've just never been brave enough to release any of my songs. So my goal this year is to release some stuff and be brave enough to. I play guitar, piano, banjo, a little bit of harmonica, a little bit of violin. I would like to get more back into more violin, to be honest with you. What else? Oh wait, I do veterinary. That's another intro. Oh yeah, I forgot.
That was a big one.
I'm training to be a veterinary surgeon. I forgot about that. Yeah. I was actually like, what else?
Speaking of that, the next question's actually about that, which is how hard is it to get into vet school, and what's the progression like, and what's it like to actually go to vet school? Because the person who asked this question there, their niece is looking to apply for vet school. So here's the point to advertise vet school now to see if they can do it.
Do you know what? I find this question so tough to answer without sounding. But I also like have to be honest. Like it is hard getting into that because there aren't that many vet schools about. They're not in every city like other courses. I think there's literally like. There used to be like 9 vet schools in the UK. I think it's gone up to like 11 or 12 now. So the amount of people applying for it and the amount of spaces that there are, I think they did a statistic, and this could be wrong. I think it's like 10% or 5% of people that apply get in. I was very lucky that I got into everywhere that I applied to. So yeah, I picked the one that was right for me. In terms of vet school being difficult whilst you're in it, yes.
The look to the camera just then was brilliant.
I love it, but it's so difficult.
Yeah,
because you are learning about every single species. In a way, you are even learning about humans. Like, you are learning about every single species, and it's not just diagnosing and medicine. Like, with the surgeons, with the dentists, with the pharmacists, with everything. So like we have to, like, I'm learning at the minute how to suture, so like how to like suture up wounds and things, and like I'm going to be doing surgery and that. So it is like, it's a very, I don't know how we know all the stuff that we know. I don't know how I can remember it.
Because you have a big brain and you can learn it all.
Well, the thing is, I either want to be an animal, well, no matter what, I want to be an animal welfare specialist. I want to really work on that. I want to work at changing things because I think that a lot needs to be changed. Yeah. I'm very animal rights, animal welfare, but I really want to be a neurosurgeon as well. A big interest of mine. I like cardio as well, and I like oncology, but I'm so interested in neurosurgery. I want to be a brain surgeon. So it is difficult, but I'm in second year now. I passed first year. I don't know how, but I passed first year. So it is, I don't, again, I didn't think I would, but I got very good grades. So obviously it's obviously doable.
I mean, from what I've seen, like, I think you've been doing absolutely amazing. Like, really proud of you. Because like with the uni course I did, it was just like an arts one. Like with your one, like it's actually like life and death and having to do like a lot of like revision and stuff. Like with the art course I did, we didn't even have to do near as much as that, and that was already stressful enough. Like with the one you've got, it must be. Yes.
Well, that's the thing. I do think the arts courses they're difficult in their own way because I have done stuff like that before. Like you're getting critiqued on your own mind and creativity, and that's a different type of pressure. That's like you take things quite personally with that when you get critiqued on that. With medical space stuff, like like there's a lot to remember, there's a lot to do, and there's a different type of pressure because it is life and death. But it's again they're different. They both have pressure. They're just different types of pressures.
You've been doing very, very brilliant to get through, and I'm sure you'll keep doing amazing.
Thank you.
Right, now for the final question. We finally got to the last question. Amazing. Everyone get excited. The last one from Elise. I thought this was a really good way to bookend the interview is, do you have any tips for someone wanting to get into scare acting and become one? The big question.
I think that scare acting is actually quite easy to get into. You just have to see where you'd like to apply, see when the auditions come up. They usually come up around, sometimes they've come up as early as like February, but usually it's around like June, July-ish. And then you go to an audition, just be yourself. Don't worry if you're not a very loud, extroverted person because there's creepy introverted that sounds awful. I was about to say there's creepy introverted people
Hello,
too.
that's
But
me.
But sometimes some of the scary stuff, like I said, even though I am very loud, I like being quite silent in mazes sometimes, quite because it is quite creepy. So don't worry if you're not a very loud extroverted person because they can see that you're still, as long as you're okay, like doing what they ask and you'll put yourself out there and you'll be physical and do some vocals and that and just show that you're becoming something that isn't yourself. If you're okay doing that in a conference room with, like I said, with big lights and your normal clothes around loads of other people that aren't in makeup, with no tech, no soundtrack and that, then you'll be fine in the maze. If it feels uncomfortable, then you're probably doing it right.
That's what she said.
Great advertisement for scare acting there. Well done. So the last few ones aren't questions. They're just like very, very nice, lovely comments about your scare acting and stuff. So the first one is an NGL one saying, "Please tell I'm such a big fan. I specifically remember her scaring me so many times, and it's been great to watch her throughout all her years at Scarefest." How lovely.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you for saying that. That's very nice. It's crazy how much like I've been recognised from playing like Sister and Cindy and Baby and things, and I've been recognised a little bit from Edge of the Forest too, but Sister in particular and Cindy in particular for some reason very recognised for that. So it shows that people do like the mazes and that, which is nice.
And especially your amazing performances in them as well. The next one's from Lauren and Ad, who said, "Could you please do a shout out for us?" And this is your shout out. You're welcome. We are big Altonville fans and remember seeing her so many times as Sister. Saw her lots as the favourite cheerleader as well. Baby and Bride. Her different styles of scaring for each character were so clever. And I think that is the thing as well, like especially with OG Altonville, the amount of range that you managed to have with all those different characters was just, absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Lauren and Ad. There's your shout out. Thank you for the nice compliments. They're very, very nice. It's nice. Like I said, like people would see it as like just scare acting, but for me, it is still acting, and I'm interested in it. So I do. It's nice to get the compliments, especially because it is a maze where even if you do go through multiple times, you might only see that actor for like 30 seconds or a minute. So it's nice to be like recognised and remembered for that because it shows that people are enjoying it. So yeah, that's really nice. Thank you.
And the final one says, "Please tell her Altonville wasn't the same this year without her, and to come back. She is the face of Altonville." What a way to end.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very sweet. Thank you. I've had a few people say that about Altonville to me, about coming back and it not being the same this year, and about I've had a few people going, "You are Altonville." Very sweet, thank you. Very nice comment. I never did get to try Altonville this year. You got to try it, so
I did,
and you're a big Altonville fan.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with it, but even at this point, I'm like, maybe we could close the minds down. What a way to end the interview, eh? That's the best way to end it.
Okay, my way of ending the interview is I would love to go back and talk to her. Like I said, I was happy to be in Edge of the Forest this year. With the way that things went and just with how like casts can, even if you do enjoy the maze, like casts can still make a big impact. For me, 23 Tiny's Revenge, I don't think I'll get better than that. I'm not comparing it to like Skin Snatchers as well. I'm just saying for Tiny's overall. So I'm very happy to have been in Edge of the Forest this year, I think that's the maze that I was happy to be in with everything included in with it. Would I like to go back into Tiny's if it came back? Of course. Would I like to go back into the forest if it came back? Yes. But I do have a soft spot for Altonville. I wasn't exactly too sad at not being in it this year. Originally, I was I was meant to be back in Altonville this year, but because they liked how I did the cheerleader and being like the longest bloody Altonville actor with all those years in it. But when I originally found out that they then moved me to Edge of the Forest, I was like, eh. I was like, excuse me. I was like, I'm in Altonville, please, no. And then I was like, wait, hang on. I was like, this is an opportunity to be in like the first time of a maze, like the new maze. And if it was to be any maze, it would be Edge of the Forest, with the style of acting, the style of characters, the way it's quite creepy, the psychologicalness of it, and the fact that it links to a ride in an area, like it links to 13 and Dark Forest, and that, as well as Hex, is like my favourite sort of area, with like the creepiness of it. So I actually thought to myself, I'm going to take a risk here, and I'm actually going to say no, actually. I'm happy. Put me in Edge of the Forest.
It's all because I came along on that one. No, it wasn't me at all.
I wish. I'd love to. I'll pretend that I do remember seeing you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, don't.
But
it's nice that you remember seeing me.
Oh, yeah. I remember before it, I was watching Subspecies, like the exit of it, like people running out, having never done a maze before. Turns out I wasn't actually as scared. I got some scares from Subspecies, but I was never really that scared of it. But then being in the queue line for Altonville and not even knowing what to expect. And I think I remember thinking that you were just one of the other hosts and not actually like the pre-show. So then like you really really, really effective with that pre-show, which is great.
Yeah, Altonville's queue line is really creepy. Subspecies queue line though, and going into that control room. I remember being so scared because I did it in its opening year in particular. Subspecies was great. It was so good. Not the kind of maze I'd want to work in, just like how I wouldn't want to work in Compound. It's not my style of maze. Compound, even as a guest, it doesn't really. I can appreciate it, but it doesn't. It's not my kind of maze. Whereas Subspecies, I did like because it was new. It was the first of its kind. It really worked. Whereas I do prefer the classic sort of linear mazes, to be honest. I don't really find grabby too scary. I prefer sustained scares and jumping out sort of scares and things. But yeah, Subspecies was great, and the queue line for that. I think that's one of the most. Not that I've, as you know, not that I've ever been that particularly scared of going into mazes. I don't really get that scared of them. But Subspecies is one of the most scared that I've been for. And Altonville in its open year, when I was stood in that queue line, I was like, oh, this is kind of creepy. I wonder what's going to go on in there. I'm a little bit scared. And then I came out and I was like, oh, sorry.
That's all right. Well, we finally got through the massive list of questions. Again, that, in all seriousness, thanks for everyone for submitting. It really means a lot to get that many. But especially thanks to Chloe for joining me, doing an amazing job with this interview. And I'll definitely have to try and get you on the channel a few more times. Hopefully, we'll have to see. We'll see if there's more interviews in future. Wink, wink. So I guess until whatever the next video is, we will see you next time. Bye.
Yeah, let's see if it zooms into me. Bye.
No,
it didn't.
It won't do it this time. It'll just.
Bye.
It actually went away from you at that point.